So, Customs, let's take your normal presentation. Then we review it year by year. We ask questions on why your expenditure should not be reduced, or why your capital votes should not be reduced.
Honorable members, good morning, and I wish to express my gratitude to God for keeping us alive and bringing us all here. Mr. Chairman, we made the submission. I hope you have copies of this booklet that we submitted to you based on your request. And I would crave your indulgence to take it in the same manner you have enumerated now. And that's first and foremost, may I call your attention to the first page of that booklet, which gives the breakdown and the contents of what this booklet contains. First, there are details of revenue performance from 2018 to 2021. And then, of course, we have performance of approved budget from 2018 to 2021. And then details of ongoing capital projects and details of completed capital project 2018 to 2021. With that, may I ask Mr. Chairman and honorable members to turn to the next page, and where we have the summaries of collection from year to year, and that the breakdown of all the collections we do. On the left-hand side of that booklet, you will see the Federation account revenue, which is customs and excise put together. That's import, excise, fees, charge on luxury goods. Then you have the Federation account levies, which are customs special levies, like rice levy, 100% cigarette levy, 30% textile levy, 30% levy on wines and spirits, 30% levy on wares, tile levy. All these are reflected there. And then we have up to the last item on that is the CET levies. Mr. Chairman, in 2018, the total money, the collection we had, Federation account and excise put together was was 720 billion, 720.229 billion. Actual that was our projection, and actual collection was 666.537 billion, which is 92.55%. And then, if you want to now break it to this, in the import was 607 billion. 607.187 billion. That's 102.8%. And then the excise. The excise was 57.891 billion, which is 48.48%. And then the fees, all put together, were 1,459 million. That's 22.10%. So if you add the sum total, Mr. Chairman, it will give you the actual collection is 111 billion, 220 million, 10 million, 87 naira, 87,108 naira 0.65 kobo, which is 86.68% of our collection rate. And then if you take it down the level and then add all the other variables, Mr. Chairman, it will give you at the end of the day the total NCS receipts. That is, if we had A, B, and C, it will give you the bottom line. That's 1.202 billion. That was the total collection, actual total collection for the year 2018. 1.2 trillion, I mean. Sorry. 1.202 trillion was the total collection for that year. If you add A, B, C, and D collection together. Then the next one is, Chairman, you have...
CG, let's ask some questions on this first page. Members, any question? First page, yes, please.
Percentage attached to it. For instance, the child levy, what's the percentage here? Even though most of them there were no collections, except for wheat flour levy and wheat grain levy. Is there any percentages attached, like the 30% for textiles, 30% on wines and spirits and all that?
If we do collect, where there's no collection at all, we don't have a percentage breakdown. So in terms of what is given, in our submission for projection, we normally don't put percentage because in actual sense, what we are not collecting, you don't need to percent that one. But what we aggregate our percentage on is after collection.
No, you don't understand
yes.
Maybe the question. For instance, for cigarette levy, that is 100%.
Yes.
Maybe to say that, okay, the cost of production, if you are doing it, you will charge. I'm just giving an example.
Yes.
You take a levy of 100%.
That's right.
You understand?
Yes.
Now, for this one that I'm asking, there isn't any percentage attached to them. You have 30% levy on wines and spirits. Maybe the cost of wine is 100 naira. Then you now charge a levy of 30 naira. It's a fixed percentage that you take. But these other ones, there are no levies attached to them, especially these two that we are collected for wheat and grain.
Well, actually,
how do you get this? For instance, 61.2 billion for wheat grain. For instance, how did you arrive? How did you get this? There must be something, maybe to say 1% or 2%. How do you arrive at this figure?
Okay, can I?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable members. I got the question you are asking. When you look at the Federation levies account, they didn't give us, even in terms of the budget appropriation, they'll just give us a sum, the sum total of what they expect us. They didn't give us item by item because of this. And that's why when you look at it, the appropriation is 128 billion point something billion. Then the performance is 11.2, which
no, let me guide you.
Yes.
Let me guide you. The question he's asking is very straightforward.
Yes.
As per your tariff book,
Yes.
what is the percentage collection on wheat grain levy? Is it 10% of import or is it 5% of import?
Sir, when you go to page 3, the rice levy is 100%. Then the cigarette levy is also 100%.
So wheat grain is what percent?
The wheat levy is 10%.
So if you had written it the way you wrote the other ones, we won't be asking you this minor question. It's just a very minor question.
We are thinking, since this is a summary, the pages it's
all right,
ahead.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
The total NCS receipt gross. What was the budget estimate?
Which one?
Total budget estimate.
Oh.
I mean the gross total, where you have your 1.2 trillion. What was your target?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, honorable members, if you look at in the same page, C, the actual budget is 915 billion, while the performance is 953 point something billion, which give us the 104. That is excluding of the VAT. It's with the VAT that will give us 1.2 trillion down. Yes, sir.
Performance of exercise and fees, ATRA.
Well, let me explain with regards to excise. Well, of course, Mr. Chairman, that as of today, we only collect excise on tobacco and wines, alcoholic beverages, as a matter of fact. So that is the only reason why the performance is low. I've met several cases, I've met presentations, and my chairman is aware that we have been on this battle that we should de-exercise, the companies that were de-exercised in 2019 by a regime. Virtually, in fact, what we have been fighting for is that if alcoholic beverages and tobacco are injurious to our health, and that's why government decided to tax them. The carbonated drinks are equally injurious to our health, and therefore they should be taxed. And I have sung this song for many years now, that Coca-Cola is producing in this country and is not being taxed. There's nowhere in the world that you go and Coca-Cola don't pay tax to its host country. But Coca-Cola today in this country do not pay anything because of government unwillingness to re-exercise those companies. So that is for us. We have been battling for it, and we hope we'll one day get through and start collecting.
Okay, CG, thank you. Honorable colleagues, we will be considering I'm sure the federal government will be coming up with the Finance Act 2022. There's a need for us to look at the possibility of charging excise duty on all drinks manufactured in this country. This on all drinks, irrespective, both carbonated and non-carbonated. The carbonated is already part of the 2021 Finance Act, but companies cannot be operating and not paying tax and making huge profit. We are talking about excise. They paid. I'm sure they will be paying their income tax, but in terms of production tax. Even the non-alcoholic is also injurious. If you drink too much, wahala. You just be consuming sugar. Yes. Budget office. Who is here from budget office? Madam, you are too far from us. We are looking at your document. Please come forward. The presentation of customs. And do you have a copy of the presentation? Clerk, sir, bring a copy to budget office. Copy of customs. We want to know why there was no proposal, why there was no budget for some line items. Why did you omit? Why did your office omit such vital, Page 1 of it. Rice levy, you did not make provisions. Cigarette levy, there was no provision. Rice levy, maybe because it is banned, it's understood. But cigarette levy, no provision. Wheat flour, wheat grain, no provision. CET, what is CET? What's CET?
Common external tariff.
It is a 2.0 to 5%.
No provisions. So why? Well, I mean, these huge sums would have been lost if customs were careless. Madam, can you explain? Budget office.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, honorables. What we submitted...
Your name and your agency.
My name is Asun Etison Ginika, Budget Office of the Federation. What we have compiled here is under Federation account levies, I believe. So if it's based on their submission to us, but we can always go back and check their submission, then come back to the committee if those are last. But usually they submit it under Federation account levies. We just lumped it up. So at the back end sheet, I'm sure that we have the breakdown. So we can always bring that back.
Oh, I see.
Thank you.
It would be better also to break it down line item by line item for
That's
them
not
to
a
for
problem.
them to understand in the
Okay, no
future.
problem, sir. I'll bring it back before close of work
Yes.
today. Thank you.
CG, next page, sir.
Summary of monthly revenue figure, and that's the performance for the year January to December 2018, and which Ahmed alluded to it in the summary on the first page. If you see from month by month, the total collection from non-federation account, federation account, VAT, and then the sum total is what we have 1.202 trillion for the year 2018.
It's federal responsibility here now. Yeah? You came late, sir. It's already, page 4 is already clear. It's just the breakdown of your,
Yes,
of the collections.
okay.
Federation account.
It's the breakdown of the collection, and also the same thing on page 6.
Hold on, the CG. Yeah, Honorable Stanley.
Are you analyzing your data to be able to give all this number presentation that you're doing? That's my first question to you.
Question. What did you
when
see,
you are doing
what did you see in the data?
Let me first of all say to you that when you're doing financial analytics, you'll be able to compare the relationship between your expenditure and your revenue. What's the percentage of your revenue that is responsible for your expenditure? E.g., let's assume that the cost of enforcement in your whole process is 1 billion. I'm just being hypothetical here. How much of that is responsible for your 20 billion revenue? That's what the analysis will show you.
Well, Honorable colleague.
Hold on one second,
Honorable
Chairman.
colleague,
Yes, sir.
Honorable colleague, please. We made the law on how customs gets their revenue and expenditure. The expenditure is based on cost of collection. So if they get low revenue, they get they get less. I think that's just the parameter. And let's work within that so that we don't go.
No, Chairman, sir. The analytics will give you more scientific numbers, how these numbers are coming about. Because in the old world today, I can tell you for a fact, people are doing financial analytics to be able to make all those projections. But if we're saying just because we're giving them a budget, and based on that, they can come up with the expenditure and then come up with their revenue, there should be some analytics that is going into this process. So that way we are seeing that for the expenses that Nigeria is spending, are we truly making enough revenue for that? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I think Budget Office, take note of that scientific approach
Yes.
so that we'll be in a better position.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. We'll go to 2019, sir. Page 9. Okay. Page 9, sir. No, this one, you see, your paging is different. You put page 17 there. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Sorry for the listening. The 2019 is also taken in the same format that we had the 2018. And without wasting the honorable chairman and members' time, I would just go down straight to the total for the year 2019, which is the actual collection, was 1.341 trillion for the year 2019. The breakdown, of course, is as depicted on that page. The actual budgeted sum was for customs import this was 603, whereas the actual correction was 693 billion. And then, of course, excise, because of the limited number of excise companies, it was 78 billion. And then we were able to collect 92.7 billion. So the total summary, Mr. Chairman, in order not to waste time, is 1.341 trillion for the year 2019.
CG, when did you close the border? When? Which year?
We effected the closure of border in 2019.
2019.
Yes.
And we made more money in 2019 too.
Yes, that is simply because when we closed the border, most of the exports, the import that used to come through the land border and get smuggled, had to now go through the ports, and we have to collect the duty. That's all. That's simple.
Okay. Do you have the breakdown of Cotonou, or what do you call them? Seme. The revenues 2018, 2019, 2020.
Yes, we have, but unfortunately, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, can we have a look at it?
I don't think we are here.
Do you have it here?
Is it here?
Mr. Chairman, it's not here, but we have this a summary of the collection.
I know.
Yes, sir.
I know it's a global thing, but,
Yeah, but
we also want to take a look at those individual units.
Okay.
What's their performance?
We can make it available.
Please do so.
Okay.
Please.
Take note. Okay.
You have a question?
All that you planned for before has already been executed before we start talking about non-alcoholic and other, because this performance, there has been a very tremendous improvement on the exercise and fee. Is it exercise and fee? Sorry. Is it that what we were just discussing in 2018 has already been implemented, or what happened?
No.
No, let's.
We normally get this thing is always fluctuating, and because of the companies that pay this, we have a consistent collection of the revenue, but sometimes because of the percentage of payment, it goes a little bit higher. But nothing has changed from tobacco and alcoholic beverages. We are still on that up to this moment.
I'm looking at your approved 2019 budget and then the actual collection in terms of performance. Section B. If you look at 1% comprehensive imports supervision scheme, you actually did 114.49%. And then, if you go to the next one, which is the 0.5 for the ECOWAS trade, you actually did 118%. What is responsible for this growth?
Honourable Member, I think this is very, very clear, because the level of import is exactly what raises the if you see the sum total of our collection, it has gone to 1.3 trillion, which then means that there are more imports coming that had come in the year 2019, and therefore those percentage will have to also increase as we collect. So that's the simple reason why you find out that the percentage goes higher in these two collections.
But are you able to articulate exactly what is responsible for that growth?
Well, without this, I want to say exactly, to repeat that the more import we have, the more the revenue that we collect, and therefore whatever percentage, 1% on every import. So if you calculate, if in the year 2018 we have 200 imports, and then in the year 2019 we have 25 imports. Therefore, 1% of that would multiply by 25. It's bound to be higher than the previous year, because we collected less. We collected less revenue. So that's the simple analysis. As it can be seen, we must be grateful to God, because despite the pandemic, we were able to meet our target and surpass our target.
You made more money in COVID.
Well, I think so, because I think more. Well, let me say what I had one spiritual father said, that when the COVID came, people became more compliant because they are afraid of dying. So maybe that's applicable to what has happened too. People paid more dues, they were more diligent in paying their duties, and therefore we collect. But the bottom line, Mr. Chairman, is that it is a spillover of the import. The most imports requisition are always made in advance, and of course, once they open the reduction in terms of lockdown came over, a lot of people were in rush to bring in their goods and be able to exploit the market space, and therefore we experienced the backlog of the 2019 plus the 2020, and that's amounted to why we realized this much of revenue.
Any question for CG?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mine is actually just an advice to the customs through the CGC. When we went round for oversight, one thing was clear: the issue of excise. Excise is still manual. We've not automated that exercise end to end. And if we try and do that, for 2020, for instance, that we had a target of 78 and we're doing 120, I assure you, and with the suggestion of Mr. Chairman, if we go all out to, impose excise on all drinks and all that, I assure you we'll be collecting more than the import duty. I know that for sure. So let's look at the possibility of automating this exercise end to end. I'm sure the CGC knows what I mean. From the point of production, if you have a system that is being, connected to the factory, the input that they are putting to do this production, and the output. So at the end of the day, you will be collecting more than what you are collecting from importing to this country. And by so doing, also, you will improve their efficiency. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable. I think we are working very hard. Well, okay.
The ACJ quota on this issue of excise, that alcohol and tobacco are not automated. But the argument was that they are automated. That right now you are collecting the excise on automation. Is it true?
Commenced the collection of excise on tobacco on automated, and we're working on the other side, the alcoholic beverages also to automate the system. The NICES too has been expanded to a provision that we have been able to incorporate the collection of excise on tobacco. Tobacco is much easier for us, then there are more alcoholic beverages factories than tobacco factories. So it was easier, so we started with that. It's running. We expect that we perfect it with the help of Webfontaine, using the system. So we have started the process, and it is our hope that by the turn of the year 2022, we should be able to say comfortably that we have been able to automate 90 to 100% of our collection with regards to excise.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chairman, of the performances of the service under your leadership. But at the same time, one is a little worried because of the activities of smugglers, which of course will impact negatively on your revenue, your revenue potentials. Now, given your knowledge of what the activities of smugglers are, what do you think we can do to curb and hold the activities of smuggling? Is it, can we look at the possibility of getting more hands? Because I'm looking at, given my layman understanding of it, I'm looking at a potential of additional trillion naira coming to the service through, if we can close the window of smuggling. So, if we get more hands, do you think it will bring down the level of smuggling activities? Because if by my own little projection we're looking at a 1 trillion size more revenue, and you will spend, say, a 50 billion naira to get additional hand, I think there is an economic sense in us looking at that. So can you please tell us what we can do to bring down the level of
I'm sure the budget office will just laugh at you when you call figures. Your own projection, you are looking at 1 trillion size. What are the parameters?
smuggling?
You know, we need to be
More scientific.
yes, like my brother said, we need to have more scientific approach. Don't just throw figures. Analytics.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we do a little bit of analytics too. Before we arrive at what we are putting forward, the issue here, sir, is that we are leveraging on technology. We are trying to deploy as much technology as possible. Mr. Chairman, you know that our biggest problem is when you have contact between person and person. That's when compromises begin to ensue. But once you are able to automate the system and you separate the contact between person to person, it reduces drastically the tendency for compromise. And that's what we are leveraging on. And that's why we keep working very hard on this e-custom project. But in addition to that, before we arrive at it, we are working consistently with Webfontaine to see what we can deploy in terms of applications that will mitigate some of these things. To be frank, most of the, apart from vehicle smuggling, most of this, the smuggling, the issues, evading of duties happens at the port, because we do not have scanners, and which means we cannot inspect every container and know the content. And of course, I would do respect to our stakeholders. Most of our traders, in conjunction with the clearing agents, always try to devalue the goods that are imported, and therefore reducing the percentage. But if we have scanners, and thank God we will very soon be deploying 3 major scanners at the major ports, that's on Apapa and Tinkan, that will help us tremendously to be able to reduce to the barest minimum the excess of smuggling. Because when you have a company bringing in 50 containers, you hardly can inspect all those. And of course, we are mindful of also the ease of doing business. If we say we are going to open every container and upload it, and then see what it is in it before we close it, we may not inspect 50 containers in a week. But Mr. Chairman, I assure you that now that the scanners are almost at our shores, once we deploy them, I believe that we will realize the increment in terms of this.
CG,
yes, sir.
what's the advantage of cargo tracking system on this issue?
Well, cargo tracking, it has 2 advantages. The high sea one or the onshore one. The onshore one is for those cargoes that are on transit. So if a cargo is termed for Kano, for instance, and if we deploy the cargo tracking, which means that that cargo, that container, once it's picked from Apapa, it cannot be up to anywhere, but it must reach Kano depot before, and then it is there that we do the inspection. But today, because that is not deployed, we rely on escort. And sometimes, Mr. Chairman, you know, these vehicles, one escorts are given 10 containers on 10 vehicles. Between Lagos and Ibadan, 3 would die on the road. So we have to those escorts will have to stop. Some of them have to drop and wait for those vehicles to be repaired. And also between Ibadan and Benin, also some will die. So at the end of the day, we do not have enough people to take these things to their destination. But I agree, and that is why cargo tracking, both internal and onshore, on the sea, is included in our e-custom project.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, if you go to page 9, on the rider to the question of Honorable Stanley, the B, page 9, Comprehensive Import Supervision Scheme for 2019, 70 billion. If you see the 1%. Mr. Chair, go to page 17 quickly too. B, the 1% comprehensive import supervision, 72 billion. My observation and the question that we have been ruminating about here is, how come the actual collection during COVID-19 is greater, it's higher, if it is not copy and paste and we're just playing with figures and we think the country should be run this way and we're heading somewhere?
Let's remind ourselves that during COVID, the National Assembly gave approval for POS operations to continue, to open. So there was actually activities going on in all the ports. So COVID was just restricted to our personal human movements.
Okay, Mr. Chair,
But
even
those
in 2020,
activities,
sir, my observation, even in 2020, okay, I agree with you, the activities were still going on, even till 2020. So how come we have the disparity in the figure, 70 and in 2022, and if you check it very well, I don't know whether the chairman is really getting 2020. Chairman, you are not really getting what we're trying to bring out of this, and I would have expected you that you allow the CG to respond, sir.
Try and explain something here. Maybe Honorable will understand this. If you look at on the 2020 she's talking about, the 2020 is, if you look at page 9, the page 9 you're talking about, look at Federation account revenue. Look at import and duty. It is also 114.79%, which means there were more imports in 2019 than you have in 2020. That's what it is. And if you look at 2020, also the Federation account, you see that import is 80.77%. So it's relative. Since the collection of CISS is 1% of import. And so if we collect less import, which is depicted in the Federation account, then you also, that will reflect in the CISS as well as the 5%, 4.50%.
Akatajora, do you have a copy of this presentation, please? Do you have a copy? Give Akatajora a copy, please. Because the member just said maybe figures are just being cut and paste. So you need to confirm to us whether we got the money or not. Akata General. That's Akata General there, second row. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, our guests, honorable colleagues. I remain the Honorable Francis Otagbo. I speak for the long-suffering people of Ado, Okpoko, Gbadibo Federal Constituency. I'm from Benue. Mr. Chairman, I want the CG. There are several researches, and even from the several researches, and even from the anti-corruption index, we have seen that the customs under your watch still steals in sleaze. Precisely, the general belief is that corruption works with two legs untamed under your watch. And it is a very good opportunity for us.
Is that an allegation?
Yes, to know precisely.
Not, I have not seen corruption with two legs.
Yeah, so I want to know in specific terms what you are doing, to fight corruption in the customs, and the result you have recorded. If there was any, the chairman say allegation, fine. If there have been any empirical evidence of corruption in customs and what you have done about it. Thank you.
Honorable Stanley, please, final question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. CG, I remain Honorable Adedeji Stanley Olajide. First of all, let me say this. We hold you a duty of care. We're not here to witch hunt you. But the window of opportunity we have here, we want to try to make sure we maximize it. Nigeria is bleeding right now. We need money. And any opportunity for us in this process to derive better revenue for Nigeria, I think will be well justified for the country. So in the area, when you were talking about the cargo tracking or cargo detection system, even if you look in the U.S. Customs, they have the cargo detection systems because there's no way you can inspect all cargoes. They track them using computer technologies. As they land, even to the bonded warehouse and even on the road, there are some chips that are embedded in containers after leaving the port to see if there's any kind of diversion or if you see patterns, because there are patterns that you can come up with in this process. So that way you can really look at how we can generate more money. I also want to stress, you have to put a lot of emphasis on technology. There is absolutely no way around it. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Right, sir.
Say here that if we are sincere to ourselves, I think this government, when it came to power, one of its cardinal objectives is to fight corruption because it has become endemic in our system. It's not only custom, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So we in the custom, we realize that. And that's why I had earlier said that we are leveraging on technology to be able to separate the contact, the usual contact between person to person. Because when you separate that, then the chances of compromise is reduced to the barest minimum. And that's why we involve this e-custom, which is going to be an end-to-end technology. At the end of the day, a honorable member, you can use your handset here, right here, to be able to do your transaction with regards to custom. You will know how much, if you import a car, and you know how much you're supposed to pay, from the duty to levy to everything. And then you can effect your payment online, and then you now get an agent who will go and collect it. Today, what is happening is that when you get an agent, he will do the calculation for you and give you the correct remuneration, figure. But when you give him the money, because they are clever enough to say, pay the money into my own account. It is me who will now pay to custom. And once you do that, he goes and changes the papers. He changes the papers and give you and said if your car is 2021 or 2020, he reduces it to 2017. And then of course they compromise with some bad elements within the custom and clear those cars on those bases. and then they exit it. And that's why sometimes people get embarrassed when you are stopped on the highway by federal operations and you are asked to produce your paper. And you produce the paper. And when they now check the VIN number of the car, they will discover that the particulars of that car is for 2020, not 2017. And then you are asked to pay a deal. And then people begin to say, how can it happen? But that's exactly what is happening. That's exactly what is happening. So, no, I'm telling you, Mr. We are doing the...
CG,
yes, sir.
we will avail you the professional expertise of our colleague.
Yes.
Let him write you, or if you want to contact him as a consultant, if allowed by law, he can...
Thank you for that recommendation, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
He's a computer, excuse me please, he's a computer expert, so when computer gurus see things going wrong, they are concerned, when you can also solve the problem by via of technology. So, Honorable colleague, you can please avail customs the opportunity of models that can work for Nigeria and make better income. We appreciate your concern. Thank you. 2021, we have seen that you made 1.2 trillion for 6 months. For 6 months, what's the budget of 2021? Budget office. What's your budget for? What's your proposal for them? Huh? Your budget, I just want to know. Let her tell us. 1 point what?
Let me just check.
Okay, you want to quickly check it.
Yes.
Custom, CG, you say your budget is what? 1.4.
Their own accord did their analytics and gave us 1.6.
They will jack it up. Can we then say, excuse me, can we then say that budget office, you need to look deep into your parameters for customs? What are the parameters that we use to give approvals for their budgets, for their expected revenue? Because as it is, we have seen geometrical increase. Even in 6 months down the line, they've done almost 1.2 trillion. Remain only 400 for 6 months. And they will make that 400 in less than 1 month or 2 months. So we expect that you will be hitting about 2.5 at the end of 2021. No, do 2.5. Don't say 2 trillion.
Mr. Chairman, because
if you make 2.5, it's better for us.
The issue with regards to custom is a question of import, and it fluctuates. It may go higher, it may come down. So we have no control over that. But it is our hope that we will surpass 2 trillion. What the budget office and what we normally submit is a conservative way of looking at things. Looking at all the variables put together, it's not good to be too ambitious.
But it may be not to be too ambitious and you make more money. We're also very ambitious in our borrowings, yes, because we need to also meet the gap. So if you can look inward and close part of that gap, we'll do it. It is better for us, please.
Absolutely, we are doing that and we'll continue to do that.
Chairman of Customs, what do you have to say?
Chair, Custom is doing well, and I'm happy. But I want to say one thing. Please, for us to support them to make more money, this Finance Act that will pass in 2020, we should try and make it to start working now for the carbonated drinks. It's already there as a law. And then we told Custom that they should contact Ministry of Finance so that they get the approval in order for them to start collecting, so that they can act and make up to what you are expecting, like 2.5 trillion. I believe if we implement that act, definitely it will be very easy to get, even though it's not up to 2.5, we cross 2 trillion. This is what I just want to say.
Chairman. No, I'm not comfortable. You say budget office say 1.4. National Assembly say this. Are we in contention? Who gives you budget?
Okay, thank you. You made your point. The final budget, the Appropriation Act is the final. So don't let us overflog this. CG, we just want to take a glance at your expenditures. Quickly. Take us to page what? Do you give free uniforms? Do customs give free uniforms to staff? Use the mic.
This thing to the junior ones free. Uniform to junior.
You give uniform to junior free?
Yes, right.
How many pairs?
What? I think 2 pairs. 4 pairs.
One pair.
4
pairs.
4 pairs, yes.
And they get it once in a year, right?
Yes. And then you can exchange as you go on.
Is it the new recruits you give or junior up to which level?
No, junior officers. We have not recruited for everyone.
Who is a junior officer?
The CSCs, I mean the CIC, level 6 and below, as a matter of fact.
What's this foreign service school fees payment? What's that?
As well as in Benin Republic. And part of this is that we are paying the allowances, including their own children's school fees, while they are out there. And so that's what is reflected.
Okay, the attachment, well, you send your staff out.
Yes, we have
on attachment.
Yes, we have.
How many years is the minimum?
Normally, the first 3 years and then another 3 years. It can be renewed for another 3 years. Then
so when they go, you also ask them to move their children along.
Normally, they move all their families along.
And the government pay for their children.
And the government takes care of their children.
And also pay their salaries.
They pay their salaries and their allowances to run the place. And of course, we pay WCO subscription also, which is, we also pay our own regional custom subscription. So those are the foreign probably expenditures that we incur in foreign currency.
Fiscal Responsibility Commission.
I believe as at the time they demanded for the financial statement
in
2018, but then the auditors are on it, which the National Assembly knows the reason why they started late. But they have finished their submission 2017, 18, 19. The financial report is ready. So we will look at it, and if he said they didn't have a copy, we will resubmit the copies again.
No, you have not submitted. It's not that they didn't have a copy.
We submitted with the
17, 18, 19.
Yes, we submitted, but I don't want us to be arguing. We would look at our decision.
Okay, today is Monday.
Yes.
Please submit, and you especially.
Okay.
You come here on Thursday with fiscal responsibility, and come and hear the verdict. We don't need the CG. You especially come. You are CG. What's your own position? Controller Finance? So good. 2022. What's your proposal 2022?
2022, Mr. Chairman,
What are we expecting?
we are, by the sum total of this, what we are, if we add all the collectibles, Mr. Chairman, we are expecting in 2022 1.33 1.33 trillion. That's what we are projecting.
Why? Why are you going down from 2021?
Well, we are always hopeful that things will improve. But like I said, Mr. Chairman, import is a fluctuation, it's a fluctuating process. And we do not have any constant measurement of what will happen. So we take the average of what we collected in the previous year and compute it, and then come up with a figure that is realizable. Whatever comes thereafter, it is our hope that we will surpass by far what we have collected. But we are always trying to be as realistic as we can in our proposal.
CG,
Yes, sir.
1.3. Budget office. You agree that it's 1.3 for 2022?
It's a proposal. They will now do their own metrics also.
Let's hear her. No, this one is budget office. No, it's her own. The other one I borrowed it. Let's copy.
He came with charge.
No, I work.
He brought office from the forensic audit. He wrote it.
Please, you need to get yourself prepared for us, please.
For custom,
Why did you give them 1.3? That's our question.
For 2020.
It's your proposal. But that's what they adopted and sent to us. Is that correct?
We have 1.8, sir.
1.8.
Yes, sir.
Even the 1.8 is not it's too small.
That's the projection that we have.
Chairman of Customs, let's hear from you.
Thank you, Chairman. CG, Budget Office, this is very ridiculous, I can say, because now the Naira is devalued already. So you will discover that you see the volume of money you are getting. If you want to get the real value, you will see that it's not real improvement. So I expect the proposal to be like from 2.5 upward, because the exchange rates last year was 381 when we gave them
39.
Yes, 381 when we gave them the target of 1.678 trillion. When the CG was complaining, I told him that I heard from the CBN governor saying that the Naira will be devalued soon. And now it's even devalued. So you should look at the value of the Naira that is going down and give upward review. This is what I want to tell you. And I will tell you, they are going to meet up with it. So please, take note of the parameters. And secondly, the Finance Act has been passed. The carbonated rings has been signed into law by the President. There are so many ways they will get revenue now, better than last year. And now we are in the middle of the year, see what they have generated just because of the devaluation of this Naira. Thank you so much.
which means you are going to be generating more revenue with the scanners. There is no more physical, inspection. Then before the end of the year, I'm sure also the issue of the excise that you told me you have started automating is going to also give us more money. Then a lot of training that you put in the budget for 2021, not only of your officers and men, but even members from this table that will also help you with the seized money to be trained. So with all these things that we have there's no way this committee will accept anything less than 3 trillion, really. 3 trillion.
Thank you. CG, excuse me.
Come on.
CG,
Yes, sir.
let me just quickly correct an impression.
Yes.
We do not take part in your activities. We don't need your training. Train your staff, collect revenue for the country. Please,
Yes.
if you want to be trained,
Yes, sir.
the National Assembly will train us.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, let me also say this. This figure here is our projected expenditure from our own earning. It's not projected budget collection. If you see, is the medium-term expenditure framework. So it is our expenditure that we are envisaging in 2022. So it's not the total collection that is depicted here. So let me clear that one. It's not the total collection, Mr. Chairman. If you look at it, the heading there is medium-term expenditure framework, and therefore we look at what are we envisaging in terms of what revenue that will accrue to us. Okay, then we go to if that's the case, we go to the next page on that paper. Next page on that paper will answer your questions. That's the medium-term revenue that we expect. And that same paper, there's a second paper. I don't know how it is, but there's a second paper, and I can give Mr. Chairman my own. Okay. Right, so revenue sources grand total. So under 2022, you see that it is 1.295 that we are projecting for the year 2022. I know there's argument for an increase, but it's not. It's out of this projection that we now did our calculation and came up with the expenditure framework medium.
No, your document is repeating the same thing now. That your gross revenue is 1.3.
Yes, sir.
And that's what we are saying. We are saying no, that your gross revenue is low in view of all the available opportunities that you have. And when you also look at your historical performance,
yes, sir. One good thing
2018 to 2020.
Yes, sir. One good thing about it is that every kobo we collect in customs goes straight into the.
Yes, I agree with you. But the point is that
we have no way of shortchanging government.
No. CG.
Yes.
The issue is this.
Yes.
What the budget office work with.
Yes.
Is the figures available to them on paper. And at the beginning of the year, for the country to achieve results, they will have to see what is coming in and what is the gap. And then we plan to borrow for the gap. So if we are able to increase our revenue, that gap also will be narrowed. And so what will be borrowed will also be less. So that's just the issue. So for us, as a committee of finance, we will not accept the 1.3. I'm sure by the time our report comes out, you will be you'll be pleasantly happy.
Mr. Chairman, but I thought the budget is a living document, which means it keeps evolving. As we go into the year, if we collect, then if budget office have planned to take a loan of some certain amount of money, and then all of a sudden certain amount of money accrued, then of course they stop taking
Yes, no, excuse me. It is a living document, but appropriations is not a daily affair. So it's not when we approve in December now, then by March, if your revenue increase, they bring it back again. No, sir. You know, it's just for purposes of control and you know. Yes, Honorable Boring.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Abbas Adigun is my name. I'm from Oyo State. I'm not a member of this committee. I'm just a guest for today. So, no.
You're overruled.
Chairman, sir.
Overruled. Honorable Luga, please.
Thank you.
Honorable Luga, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is just very simple one. That we have to, it has to reflect in your figures. That's just my observation. We have not been seeing it for quite some time now. We have been seeing that the dollar rate has been fluctuating, but to a certain stage, as we are today, it has at least risen to over 500 to $1. And some of the stuffs being brought into the country, I believe by the time you calculate the import duties and so on and so forth, we have not seen it reflecting. So we are only encouraging you and charging you that the 2022 projections, the 2023-2024, we are employing you that it should reflect the country. Nigeria should benefit from the increase, not only the hardship that our people will be feeling, not only the heat that our people will be feeling. Let's see the reflect, and your own agency is a critical stakeholder if Nigeria is going to benefit from this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for the opportunity, sir. CG, my name is Honorable Adedeji Stanley Olajide. I'm from Oyo State. Let me say this. The percentage increase in dollars, the USD, in terms of the exchange rate, it's almost about 30% from last year. Would you agree with me? So just approximately. So if you are going to calculate the importation duty on a $20,000 car last year, it would be based on, at that exchange rate, at 350, I'll be 360, whatever it was last year.
We are being conservative based on the fluctuation of import. Import is not something that we have a graph that is consistent, that we believe that it will continue to rise. It may fall and then get up again. So we put a figure that is conservative enough, but we internally within ourselves, we know that we are looking forward to a higher collection. But we will not want to put a figure that eventually we will fall short of drastically because of the dynamics of the market. Is completely strictly based on this thing. It's a fluctuating process. So we propose what we think. We believe that, come what may, we should be able to collect this. But whatever accrue in excess, it will reflect. This year, we got the National Assembly gave us 1.6. Today, we have collected over $1 trillion already. And we are looking forward to collecting more by the end of the year. So we are not saying we are denying Nigerians anything. It is our hope. And of course, Mr. Chairman, you know that 7%, if we collect 7% of 3 trillion, is higher than 7% of 1.2 trillion. So it is to our advantage to even collect more, so that the percentage of our cost of collection is higher. So we are more interested in collecting more, because that will increase our own take-home revenue.
Thank you. Honorable colleagues, for some time, we've read in the papers as to how much volume of oil we consume, fuel, PMS, we consume. We also read in the papers how much volume of fuel is smuggled out on daily basis. DPR had reported severally that on daily basis, Nigeria loses over 40 million barrels per day. 40 million liters, sorry. 40 million liters per day to smuggling. And CG Customs was here last week. We asked very simple question, that if this volume of fuel is actually stolen on daily basis, it means that, one, over 1,000 trailers will have been used on daily basis. Two, the turnaround time for those trailers every day will have become more or less a magic. Yeah. Three, that the DPR will come out categorically to say that 40 million or a certain volume is taken every day, means that they run these things through their own meter and they know the number of trailers that are taken out or designated to any other country. And so, you are here today, DPR, CG Custom is here, PEF is here, and of course, NNPC too is here. Because the problem we have is the under-recovery cost, which is taking our revenue away. And CG Customs, we have seen, they have only seized petrol in kegs, and some other items, not in trailers, and I don't see how 1,000 trailers will go out a day or more, and customs will not see at least 20. There's no way. At least 20 trailers will be seized a day. So how did you get your figure of the stolen PMS every day? We want it to be very transparent to Nigerians. Let Nigerians get this information. That's my question.
Thank you, Chairman.
I think they have their own DG or something.
Director. Yeah, they have a director. Okay, thank you, Chairman. By way of rider, Chairman, like I stated the last time we met with the customs, in the year 2011, PF came up with a project Aquila, which was actually meant to track the movement of trucks from the point of loading to the point of delivery. I would want PF to tell Nigerians how effective has Project Aquila been, given that we're getting these figures of oil that is being smuggled outside the country on daily basis. Then also, DPR as a regulator, sir, has the responsibility of tracking this the movement of trucks. How well have you fared, given these figures that were reeling out, that we said are being smuggled out of the country almost on daily basis? Thank you.
Yes. We are talking of the refined oil now, which is being consumed supposedly in Nigeria. I want to look at it from the export side for customs, and I don't know if it's DPR that is in charge of that. I know for some time now, customs is finding it very difficult to get onto the platform of where you export this oil, because Nigeria is also being changed from that angle. Maybe NNPC will assist out on this. Yes, sir.
No, let's solve this.
Okay.
To the question I asked earlier, is the fact that the CG Customs told us last week that they suspect, the rule is that filling stations that are within 20 kilometers radius, the border post should not be supplied fuel. But they still find it surprisingly that DPR, you still approve supplies to all those filling stations. Secondly, the customs says that they have even given you a request for you to supply them the approved filling stations in all the border posts or cities. And up to now, DPR, you have failed to supply those data. And finally, customs also suggested that if we are selling, why can't you open filling stations? Is it you or PEF or who? DPR. Why can't you open filling stations in our neighboring countries and sell at a margin higher than what we sell here, make more money for Nigeria, and save our fuel being smuggled away? So you have all the questions. You have the mic. DPR. Let's meet you and who you are.
Good afternoon, sirs. I'm from DPR. We actually came for the finance. My name is Tola Fadini, please. Assistant Director in Accounts. So please, all these questions, the questions that have been asked here now, I may not be able to speak so much on them, but I'll take to my colleagues, because the letter we received was actually on finances, so we didn't come with our technical people that will have been able to...
Under recovery to you is not about finance.
Sir?
Payment for under recovery is not about finance.
The actual statistics is not on the finance.
Sorry?
The actual statistics on those on the finance is not on the finances, because finances deals with expenditures, the money released by government for expenditures, and the revenue as another division is not under finances.
In your own agency?
Yes, please. So it's only the money relates to the department for staff and other operational.
That you have come here to defend.
Observation, Mr.
You have not come here to defend what DPR.
The revenue is there.
And let her answer.
But the technical people in downstream are supposed to attend to these questions, sir. They have the study. They will be able to speak more on it.
Where's your director?
He should be on his way now.
You're on his way.
He was actually on some other, not more important than here. But
Chairman, Chairman, with your leave, I remember vividly during the first interactive session, the first day of the interactive session, you made it very clear that we will not accept delegation by any head of our agency. So what they have said now is just brought to fore our fears. we're asking them questions that they do not have answers to. So I think it's disrespectful for any head of agency to even mandate any of his staff to come and make a representation here without any formal request to the committee. So, Chairman, I'm just a little worried because of the time of the chairman custom, but I think we will have to get them to call their director to appear so that we'll be able to address this things once and for all. This is about, no, not tomorrow, it has to be today. It has to be today. There was a letter written to them, and there is no any official communication that you'll be coming in late. So I think it will be disrespectful for us to just attend to them. So, Chairman, with your leave, I will give them some few minutes, let them go out, call on director to appear here, latest by 2:30. Thank you, Chairman.
There's a motion on
Second.
Okay. The committee has resolved that the director DPR, whether is the head of DPR, whoever he is, should appear before this committee by 2:30 today. CG Customs, you have made your point. You made your point to us last week. It is noted. You are not bound to be here by 2:30. Please, we allow you to go and do your job so that Nigeria will not suffer more. No, you cannot choose to stay. Please. Thank you. DPR, you may take your leave and come back for 2:30 unfailingly with your director. Thank you.
About this network failure of custom.
And that's custom.
I want to tell you.
Custom committee.